guys. South of you in Abilene. Tuscola, you're just outside of the tornado warning polygon. I would still recommend staying in that tornado safe place. But for the next 45 minutes, Bradshaw towards Tuscola, towards Wingate, southwest of you wants you to be in that tornado safe place. And you can see a little bit of that red and green mixing with each other. And even if there's not a tornado ongoing at this point, which I think we'll know relatively soon if there is in fact an ongoing tornado, given the fact that it's in a relatively well-populated part of the Fox West Texas viewing area, you're definitely seeing the very strong winds. Radar is sampling some of those winds gusting up to 70, 80 miles an hour. So even if this is straight line winds and not rotating winds like you would see in a tornado, winds of that speed can definitely cause some damage. So I want you to be in that tornado safe place. That's the lowest floor away from windows. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Looking at Runnels County, this is for far northern portions of Runnels County. We're talking north of you in Ballinger, north of you in Winters. Again, here's Highway 84. I do think this tornadic circulation is going to be moving towards, unfortunately, places like Winter and Ballinger. You're not currently in a tornado warning. Don't be shocked if one gets issued soon, though, for radar indicated rotation, and it's moving south at 10 miles an hour. So it is a very slow moving circulation. It's been really slow moving. It formed about 2 hours ago. And to be honest, it really hasn't moved a whole lot. It kind of just stayed very close to Abilene. So it's moving to the south at 10 miles an hour. Going to put a storm track. And some of the more recent radar data appears to be showing, unfortunately, it appears that rotation is tightening a little bit. So folks west of Tuscola near Bradshaw really need you to be taking this seriously. We also have what previously was a tornado warning to the southeast of Big Spring. It appears that tornado warning has been allowed to expire. That is certainly some good news. There still is an ongoing tornado warning to the west of Tuscola, north of Winters. Right where the green and red are touching each other, that's where you have your tornadic circulation. Green is winds going towards the radar, red is winds going away from the radar. And most recent scan from the radar at Dyess Air Force Base doesn't look like it's quite as powerful as it was a little bit ago. Still though, it's still has warranted a tornado warning from the National Weather Service office in San Angelo, Texas. So still really need you to be taking this seriously. So if we drag this down towards the south at 10 miles an hour, that means the circulation will be near Lawn, Texas at 8:29 this evening. And keep in mind, this is just an estimate from radar. So give or take a couple of minutes by Lawn, Texas at about 8:29 p.m. Near Bradshaw at 8:32 this evening. At 8:45 this evening near Wingate School. At 9:22 near the community of Winters. So this is a really slow-moving thunderstorm. We may be seeing it not the strongest in the world at this point. It definitely still is strong though. And this is a supercell thunderstorm, which means it has a rotating updraft. And these sorts of storms, they have a tendency to cycle up and cycle down in intensity. So Winters definitely wants you to be on the lookout. And near Winters Municipal at 9:24 this evening. National Weather Service noting that low-level rotation is strengthening in southwestern Taylor County, and the hook is looking better. The tornado is likely soon to develop, and that's exactly what we've been noticing on radar for the past 5 or 10 minutes. There's your hook. It's southwestern portions of Taylor County. That tornado warning polygon is just to the west of you in Tuscola. Storm is also capable of producing large hail as well. That's kind of been the main threat with these storms so far. give you an estimate of how large that hail is. Radar is estimating those hail sizes to be roughly golf ball size. I believe the warning from the National Weather Service is for quarter-sized hail, but you can definitely see this storm not only capable of producing a tornado at any point, already producing the very large hail. It's between highways 277 and Highway 84. That's where it looks like the largest hail is at this point. Northwest of you in Bradshaw and west of you in Tuscola. West of you in Tuscola. I do want to briefly zoom out and kind of show what's going on across the Concho Valley and the Big Country. We're storm free right now in the Concho Valley, maybe a little storm to the south of Sterling City. That's not severe at this point. We had a thunderstorm form right over the city of Abilene. That storm split. The northern storm is going into Jones County. Storm in Jones County currently not tornado warned. This is the left split of the thunderstorm, and typically the left split doesn't have as much of a tornado threat. Jones and Shackelford County between Anson and Albany around Highway 180 definitely have the potential to see some quarter-sized hail and some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Not an imminent tornado threat. The imminent tornado threat right now for folks in southwestern Taylor County. And this storm is moving very slowly to the south. So Drasco, I need you to be in that tornado safe place. Still seeing a fairly well-defined hook echo on radar just to the west of Highway 83. Tuscola, you're definitely hearing the heavy rainfall, the lightning, and probably some hail as well, up to golf ball sized hail to the west of you in Tuscola. Lawton as well, you're probably seeing the lightning. There is a tornado warning in effect until 8:45 p.m. As of now, there has not been confirmation from the National Weather Service. And I have just received notification that we are on all of our different streaming platforms. So if you're watching us from places like Lawton, like Drasco, west of the community of Lawton, want you to take your tornado safety precautions. Again, lowest floor, you want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Also a severe thunderstorm warning that extends right towards the Taylor-Callahan County lines. Callahan County, you are not included in the tornado warning at this point. Neither is Abilene itself included in the tornado warning. That tornado warning is just to the south of you in Abilene. There is a pretty heavy thunderstorm to the east of Abilene towards Elmdale. Here is 322. Here is Highway 120. You're probably hearing the heavy rain, the lightning, maybe a little bit of some gusty winds and hail. Tristan, can we briefly pull up the Abilene Sky Tracker, see how things are looking in Abilene? So nothing imminently occurring on the Abilene Sky Tracker. That is certainly some good news. Tristan, if we could come back to the green screen. Thank you, sir. Still the powerful winds ongoing to the south of the city of Abilene. And this is slowly but surely making its way towards the Runnels County line. I expect this to stay out of you in Coke County, as well as to the southeast of you in Nolan County. Expect it to stay southeast of Sweetwater, south of Merkel, south of Abilene, south of Potosi. We're talking about southwestern portions of Taylor County, and definitely a powerful looking storm. It's been a long-lived storm as well. Gonna briefly zoom in, name some communities in the area. You can see the green right next to the very bright red colors. Those are potentially some gusts. Wouldn't be surprised if there are some gusts upwards of 80 miles an hour. And we're talking non-tornadic gusts, potentially up to 80 miles an hour with this thunderstorm. So radar appears to be undersampling those values a little bit. Radar is now saying about 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. A thunderstorm is considered severe if it produces gusts at least 57 miles an hour. I think it's definitely producing that. We're seeing a little bit better defined rotation a little bit better organized rotation, which may mean the tornado threat is briefly increasing. Sample the gate-to-gate shear. That samples how the wind is changing right next to each other, right next to each other in the storm. And that's potentially up to 40 to 50 miles an hour. So has a hail threat, has a large hail threat, and the imminent tornado threat. Here's Buffalo Gap, here's Bradshaw, here is Drasco. So if you live in Drasco, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, Drasco, Bradshaw, down towards Pumphrey in portions of Runnels County. Really need you to be taking those tornado safety precautions. Wingate, you're also included in this tornado warning. Again, this is sampling from the radar in San Angelo now. Now we're looking a little further south. Green is winds going towards the radar, red is winds going away from the radar. And you see that signature right there. That is the potential tornadic circulation. We've been keeping a really close eye on this tornado warning. I know it's probably a scary storm producing a lot of wind, hail. And still looking at the Abilene radar data, you can see that defined hook echo. It is currently 8:18 p.m. For those of you who are just now joining us, we are tracking a tornado warning for southwestern portions of Taylor County and northern portions of Runnels County, included in this tornado warning polygon until 8:45 p.m. this evening. So for the next 27 minutes, I want you to be in that tornado safe place. And what that may look like for you is kind of varies by person to person. It wants you to be on the lowest floor, and the goal is to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you live in a mobile home, it'd be best to seek shelter in a sturdier structure, if at all possible. And it looks like the most recent radar scans, as opposed to moving towards the south, maybe moving towards the southeast. I'm going to put it on a loop over the past hour. You can see that storm formed to the west of Abilene on I-20 and has been slowly but surely moving towards the southeast. So Bradshaw, this storm is moving in your direction southeast at about 10 miles an hour. So Bradshaw, you see that hook echo. That is indicative of rotation. That's where the winds are going inside the thunderstorm, feeding in that warm, humid air from the Gulf we have across the Big Country and the Concho Valley. That's fueling the thunderstorm. So if you live in Bradshaw, if you live west of Tuscola, now is your time to act. Now's the time to get in that tornado safe place sooner rather than later. Looking at the winds inside the thunderstorm, we'll zoom in on the community of Bradshaw. And there's that area we were highlighting on radar. You have the greens going towards the radar, reds going away from the radar. And those really bright red colors, that means that strong winds going to be entering in Bradshaw, entering along Highway 83 relatively soon. Tristan, have we received any sort of updates from the newsroom? Okay, we have folks in the comments asking about Big Spring on Facebook. So currently, Big Spring is not included in any sort of tornado warning. Definitely the very heavy rainfall for folks in Big Spring. Here is Highway 120. Also a flash flood warning in effect. That's that green shaded polygon. It goes from just to the north of Forest Sand, Big Spring, towards Luther. And you do notice that bright yellow flashing polygon. Let me get you the latest information on this from the National Weather Service. We're on all our different streaming platforms, so if you want to go on there and interact with us, we invite you to do so. We're also on our streaming app, Fox West Texas Plus. Latest from the National Weather Service in Midland, this severe thunderstorm warnings until 9:15 for the potential of some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-sized hail. So Folks in Big Spring towards Forest Sand, this is for Glasscock, Howard, Martin, and Midland counties, all included in that severe thunderstorm warning until 9:15. We kind of take a look and zoom out across the region. You see that big severe thunderstorm polygon that's currently in effect for places like Big Spring. That's eventually going to be making its way towards the Fox West Texas viewing area as a line of storms. Imminent threat for folks in the big country though. Tornado warning for Taylor and Runnels County until 8:45 p.m. Still a hook echo. It appears to be right on the border between Runnels and Taylor County. The tornado threat's on the southern edge of this storm. So I think once it moves into Runnels County, that should allow the threat to really dissipate in Taylor County. At this point though, Bradshaw, if you are just now tuning in with us, really want you to be in that tornado safe place as soon as possible. Because even, as I've mentioned, if it's not producing a tornado near Bradshaw, it is most definitely producing the very strong winds. And we received a photo per the National Weather Service of what appears to be a wall cloud with that thunderstorm. It's actually from a ham radio operator in Tom Green County, so near the city of San Angelo, looking from the southwest towards this storm right on the border of Runnels and Taylor County. So looking at it on the ground, it's definitely producing a wall cloud, which is indicative of that mid-level rotation. So it definitely is capable of producing a tornado, so I really need you to be in that tornado safe place. Bradshaw, west of Tuscola near Pumphrey in Runnels County. Green is winds going towards the radar. Red is winds going away from the radar. It kind of looks like we may have two different areas of rotation being shown on radar. One east of Highway 83, one to the west of Highway 83. We're talking portions of Taylor County at this point. But Drasco, you're definitely seeing the strong winds. Right where that hook is, kind of extending from the thunderstorm, that's where you have the warm air flowing into the thunderstorm, and that's really what gives the thunderstorm its fuel. You hear us refer to instability as meteorologists. That is a measure of how much fuel the storm has available to really be strong and to really get going. And that is just fueling this thunderstorm in Taylor County. And if we zoom out from southern Taylor County, there's a little bit of activity in Coleman. The activity in Coleman, though, not currently severe. Also some activity towards Sterling City. But we're really going to have to very closely watch this thunderstorm as it's out ahead of the main line closer towards Big Spring. And when these storms are out ahead of the main line, they really have nothing to compete with in terms of getting that instability, and they can be strong. So southwestern Taylor County, northwestern portions of Runnels County really needs you to be in that tornado safe place. I do apologize getting a lot of information at once. So quickly looking at all of the different ways looking at all the different National Weather Service chats we have to communicate with the National Weather Service. It does appear, though, that overall the storm threat is kind of transitioning from our viewing area, is transitioning from the Midland, Odessa area towards our area, towards the Fox West Texas viewing area. And you can see that line of storms has really formed just to the west of our viewing area towards places like Big Spring, and that's eventually going to be making its way towards Sterling City and eventually towards St. Angelo and Abilene. It's going to kind of move from northwest to southeast. That's currently not an imminent threat for our area, though. You'll notice those storms over towards Sterling City kind of forming out ahead of the main line. It is currently 8:26 p.m. For those of you who are just now joining us, I'm Fox West Texas meteorologist Britton Musall, and we are live on air on all our different streaming and digital platforms for a tornado warning in southwestern portions of Taylor County and northern portions of Runnels County. So it appears now the main threat with this thunderstorm is beginning to transition from Taylor County into Runnels County. That hook shape on radar, looks like we may have two little hooks, both just to the west of Bradshaw. Here's Highway 83. You have an eastern hook that appears to be right over Highway 83 near Bradshaw, and kind of a more western hook that we've been keeping our eyes on here for about the past 20 minutes or so. Very close to you in the community of Pumphrey, and eventually going to be moving towards Winters. Most recent data, still the very strong winds right now. As I've mentioned, even if this storm isn't producing a tornado, it is producing strong straight line winds. And what's the difference, you may ask? A tornado happens when you have the strong winds rotating from a thunderstorm, and straight line winds means that rather than rotating, the winds are coming straight out of the thunderstorm. And at this point, it looks like radar is mostly showing a signal of some very strong straight line winds. Obviously, there is a tornado threat though, because with these types of thunderstorms, it can quickly transition from producing a straight line wind to producing a tornado, and it appears a new tornado warning has just been issued from the National Weather Service in San Angelo. It's until 8:45 p.m. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Drasco, so right over here to the west of or near Bradshaw, moving south at 15 miles an hour. So it appears that they're kind of shrinking that tornado warning, so it includes less of Taylor County now. Taylor County, you are still included in the tornado warning. We're talking far southwestern portions of our area. Now this is a big threat, I would say, mostly for Drasco and Bradshaw. You still have the very strong winds though. Here's your green shaded area. Those are winds going towards the Dyess Air Force Base radar. Winds going away from the radar, and definitely very strong winds going away from the radar. It looks like the strongest winds now between Pumphrey and Bradshaw, right over the community of Drasco. That's where it looks like the strongest winds are at this point. So folks in Drasco, Pumphrey, and Bradshaw, I really want you all to be in that tornado safe place. Lowest floor, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. I know it's a scary situation, but we're here at Fox West Texas, keeping everybody safe. And right where it looks like the brightest red is, are winds gusting up to 60 miles an hour. I really think at this point their radar is underestimating how powerful those winds are. All right, it is currently 8:30 p.m. I want to briefly reset. For those of you who are just now joining us, we are covering a tornado warning. A new tornado warning has just been issued. They've kind of cut out portions of Taylor County. So we're now talking far southern, southwestern portions of Taylor County. Also that severe thunderstorm warning for Jones and Shackelford County. That has thankfully been allowed to expire. Tornado warning still in effect though for southern, southwestern Taylor County and northern, northwestern portions of Runnels County. It's currently 8:30. National Weather Service has this tornado warning in effect for the next 15 minutes. So we'll see at the end of that 15-minute mark if the National Weather Service chooses to extend that tornado warning. I wouldn't be shocked if they did, given the still fairly well-defined hook echo and the fact that this tornado warning is pretty much all by itself, not being impeded by any other sort of storms to its south, potentially choking off the tornado threat, which is unfortunate news potentially for Winters, for Ballinger areas to the south of that tornado warning. So if you're in Winters, if you're in Ballinger, I want you to be thinking about taking your tornado safety precautions. There's not a tornado warning for you yet. We definitely have the very well-defined hook echo. And notice that pink shaded area is just to the west of Bradshaw, just to the north of that Taylor-Runnels County line, right where my right hand is. That's where you have the border between Runnels County to the south and Taylor County to the north. And it appears now to be a relatively small tornado warning polygon. So relatively small area with that imminent tornado threat. But if you live from Wingate, Drasco, Pumphrey, Bradshaw, if any of these locations sound familiar to you, one should be taking your tornado safety precautions. Here's Highway 153. Here's Highway 153. Here's the community of Wingate. Here's Drasco. And here's Highway 83. Here's the community of Bradshaw, Pumphrey. It's a well-defined hook echo. You have those winds going right inside the thunderstorm. And it appears that this powerful circulation over Drasco, over Pumphrey, the very strong winds may soon be exiting the tornado warning polygon that ends officially in 15 minutes, but National Weather Service may need to draw a new tornado warning polygon, or at the very least draw a new, some sort of a warning, depending on whether or not they decide to extend it. Because still on radar, it shows the powerful straight line winds, I think, as opposed to a tornado threat. That's certainly not to say it couldn't re-strengthen. For the next 12 minutes, though, you are included in that tornado warning to the southwest of the community of Abilene. At this point, National Weather Service hasn't offered any sort of, the National Weather Service hasn't offered any sort of indication about whether or not they're going to end that tornado warning. I do apologize, was reading some recent information we have from the National Weather Service, but Drasco, even if there's not a tornado, even if you're just seeing the gusty straight line winds, it's definitely a cause for concern, and I definitely want you in that tornado safe place. All right, somebody has asked about Ballinger. Thank you for that, Tristan. So Ballinger, you're currently not included in a tornado warning. I think we'll know very soon, within the next 10 minutes, if there's a tornado warning, but you definitely see that well-defined hook, and minimally, I think this storm has the threat for some quarter, maybe as large as golf ball size tail, and some gusty straight line winds as it moves towards Ballinger. But I want to emphasize Ballinger is not currently included in a tornado warning. Here's our tornado warning polygon. We're talking far northern portions of Runnels County. Here's Winters, here's Hatchell, here's Ballinger, here's Talpa, and here's that tornado warning. It's closer towards Drasco, Bradshaw, Wingate, far northern portions of Runnels County. But if you do live in Ballinger, if you live in Winters, I definitely still want you paying attention to this storm. You might want to potentially get ready to move into that safe place if the storm maintains its intensity as it moves towards the community of Ballinger. We have received reports of a funnel cloud near View, which is in Taylor County. And that was at 8:15 p.m., so 20 minutes ago, near Coronado's Camp in 9 miles southwest of the community of View. There was a funnel cloud reported. So this thunderstorm has produced a funnel cloud in its past, and still a well-defined hook echo with this thunderstorm. This is a supercell thunderstorm, which means it has a rotating updraft, and just the fact that it's a supercell doesn't necessarily mean it'll produce a tornado. This storm is an environment, though, where we want to be watching it very closely, and I definitely want you in that tornado safe place in Runnels County. as well as for far southwestern, southwestern Taylor County and far northern portions of Runnels County. And it looks like just to the east of you in Drasco, you're seeing the large hail threat right now. This can be a little bit delayed, but you can definitely see, this is radar estimating hail sizes just to the east of you in Drasco, as well as in the community of Drasco itself, seeing that very large hail. And radar is estimating for golf ball size. National Weather Service is warning for quarter size. Regardless, it's large, damaging hail. So even though the tornado warning may be moving into portions of Runnels County at this point, away from Taylor County, you are still seeing the hail threat for far southern portions of Taylor County. Most recent radar data, it unfortunately does look like that hook is getting a little bit better definition. Looking at the winds inside the thunderstorm, this is our radar velocity product. Still the powerful bright reds, even some pinks just to the west, basically right on top of Highway 83, southeast of the community of Drasco. That's where it looks like we have our strongest winds. I really think radar is underestimating those winds. I'm going to look at radar on a different platform and see what radar is estimating there. Occasionally, it's good to look at different radar presentations, get an idea of what we may be looking at. So potentially for 60 up to 70 mile an hour wind gusts with this storm. In addition to that tornado threat, which is most definitely still present with this thunderstorm. But I do want to emphasize, in its past, we have had reports of a funnel cloud near Camp Coronados. That's in portions of Taylor County. At this point, I think the main tornado threat is passing to the south of Taylor County. It's still Taylor County. You are included in the tornado warning for the next 6 minutes. It's currently 8:39 p.m. And this tornado warning is in effect until 8:45 p.m. Winters, I would say it's probably a good idea to head inside and consider taking those tornado safety precautions, because this storm does have history of producing funnel clouds further to the north in Taylor County. And they have just issued a severe thunderstorm warning. It does include the city of Ballinger. It's for Coleman, far western portions of Coleman County. It doesn't include the community of Coleman, Santa Ana, or Navis. It does include Talpa, though, so we're talking far western portions of Coleman County. Ballinger, you're included in this severe thunderstorm warning. Hatchell, Winters, up towards Bradshaw. So here's Highway 83, all included in this severe thunderstorm warning. So a very well-populated area, included until 9:45 p.m. Latest from the National Weather Service, they are issuing this for hail, ping pong ball sized hail, so that's 1.5 inches in diameter, and hail as well, in addition to a threat of 60 mile an hour winds. So let me clear this off and show y'all currently what's happening on radar. So we do still have that tornado warning in effect for northern portions of Runnels County. Thankfully, at this point, it looks like it's transitioning away from a tornado threat and towards a straight line wind threat. I've been showing you those bright red colors. Winters, you aren't in a tornado warning, but if you live in a mobile home, especially closer towards Ballinger, I would maybe consider seeking shelter in a sturdier structure. Maybe you have a friend from work, church, school who would maybe let you inside a sturdier structure. Or if you live in an apartment complex and you live on the second floor, I want you to make friends with those folks who live on the lower floors of the apartment complex. Because even though It looks like the tornado threat is fading with this thunderstorm. You are still included in that tornado warning for Pumphrey towards Bradshaw until until 8:45 p.m. So for the next couple of minutes. Definitely still a hook with this thunderstorm, but as I've mentioned, this is a supercell thunderstorm, and supercells typically exhibit a hook shape. So just because the storm has a hook shape does not mean it'll necessarily go on to produce a tornado. We have had reports of a funnel cloud, no reports of a tornado yet, per the National Weather Service. There is still that tornado warning in effect for the next couple of minutes. And my sense is, since they've issued this new severe thunderstorm warning downstream, it'll be near the community of Ballinger at about 9:45 p.m. This powerful thunderstorm. National Weather Service has this storm moving south at 15 miles an hour. I'm going to put a storm track on this thunderstorm, specifically for folks in Ballinger, since folks were asking about Ballinger previously, and I'll take it towards the Runnels and Concho County line, but it'll be near Winters at about 8:50. So in the next 5 or 10 minutes for you in Winters, this thunderstorm will arrive near Winters Municipal Airport at about 8:53 p.m. 9:20 for the community of Hatchel, Benoit, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, near Benoit at 9:41 p.m. and near Ballinger at 9:51 p.m. And I do want to just take 1 second and take a look at Sterling County, since folks are asking about Big Spring. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that includes Sterling City, that includes Sterling County here for the next little bit, for that threat of potentially some ping pong ball sized hail and some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So not a tornado threat in Sterling County. The one tornado warning we have at 8:43 p.m. on Thursday, May 29th, is for far southern Taylor County and for far northern and northwestern portions of Runnels County. So I'm keeping a very close eye on this thunderstorm. It appears right now to mostly be do apologize. It appears to be moving from Taylor County into Runnels County. You definitely have that hook shape. It appears to now be approaching the community of Winters, eventually moving towards the community of Ballinger. So Winters right now, you're beginning to see the rain associated with this thunderstorm. Here's Highway 153. Here's Highway 83, and you see that hail just to the north along Highway 83, north of you in Winters. So hail's going to be arriving very soon for you in Winters. Already seeing the potentially 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We have seen really strong winds associated with this thunderstorm. And we do have 1 more minute left on that tornado warning. So Pumphrey and Bradshaw, you should be receiving the all clear soon from me as that tornado warning expires. Definitely still have the strong winds though. Now arriving for folks in Winters, soon going to be arriving for folks in Ballinger. Sampling some of those winds inside the thunderstorm, radar sampling potentially up to 70 miles an hour. And we're kind of right between the San Angelo radar and the Abilene radar. So that 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts may not necessarily be reaching the ground. It definitely has that potential though. And at 8:45 p.m., it does appear that the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. So Tristan, I think we should be good to send it to regularly scheduled programming here in just a bit. I do want to give folks an idea of what's going on. Severe thunderstorm warning for Sterling County. That's part of a complex of showers and thunderstorms as it's moving into portions of the Concho Valley and the Big Country. We've been keeping an eye on that storm to the south of Abilene. Thankfully, no confirmation of a tornado or anything like that. It is producing large hail and gusty straight line winds, so Coleman, Runnels, Taylor County, you're all included in a severe thunderstorm warning till 9:45. I just recommend heading inside until that storm passes your location. We're talking far southern Taylor County. Again, for that potential of ping pong ball size tail on 60, perhaps as fast as 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So I'm continuing to keep my eye on it. San Angelo, Abilene, and the majority of our viewing area, western portions of our area, including a severe thunderstorm watch until 10 p.m. Fox West Texas Live at 9 begins momentarily. I'll have the latest then. But for now, stay safe.